So I ended up blowing my piece up when I tried to fire it. I do believe that it was still too wet. I tried to pilot it at about 180 degrees for 20 hours in the kiln. And when I opened it up at the end of 20 hours, this piece had exploded. This is the final product of it before all that happened. As you can see, I have a lot of texture on this piece. I used uh, various techniques. I used a carving tool on the roots along the chest and the back and the shoulders. Just kind of scraped it up a lot to try and get the rough textures of roots. For the skin, I just kind of carved out those lines, and then I used a piece of like broken brick, and I just kind of tapped on it over and over and over until I got that texture. And then for the hair itself, I just kind of pinched out some clay and added it on there and made sure it stayed on there to kind of give the hair effect. So the roots are supposed to be, roots, and then the skin is supposed to be like the bark of a tree, and then um, the hair is supposed to be a representation uh, of of leaves. What I was planning on doing with this piece was using iron oxide stains on the entire piece, probably 3 or 4 different types of stains on it, and then I was going to wipe away on the piece itself, and so the recessed areas would be very dark and true to the color of the stain, and then the areas that I wiped away would be lighter, so I would get some variation within that, and then on the hair I would just kind of wipe away the tips to give some highlights on it. And then also on the sculpture's right side of the head, I was going to make that area really black and dark to kind of represent the fires that are happening within the area. And those fires do worry me because the house that I grew up in is susceptible to those types of fires. Um, I was also probably going to get some leaves and kind of decorate it around the piece along the bottom and kind of on the top to kind of give like just the idea of time, like leaves falling. And I was going to add that around it as well. And then I was probably going to grab a couple things from my childhood up there. Maybe just like rocks and moss and stuff like that and put it around the piece just to kind of represent, kind of bring everything full circle there. Um, but that is my piece. I will be adding pictures to this post, and you can see what happened to the piece afterwards. And I'll explain a little bit about that as well right now. I When I work with ceramics, I've learned to accept failure. It happens. I wasn't completely attached to this piece as much time as I put into it. I know that the piece wasn't finished, so there is a possibility of it messing up, and so I've kind of learned to accept that in ceramics and stuff like that. It's not finished until it's finished, um, and I can always remake this piece if I need to. So as sad as it was that it blew up in the kiln, I do have the mentality that failures do happen and I can learn from my mistakes. And so I believe the piece was still too wet, and it was probably a little bit too thick in the head area, and the whole piece kind of just exploded in the kiln. And so I'll just have to figure out how to do that better next time. And for everyone else that struggles with their piece, like, it's not something to get super attached to. You got to use it as a learning experience. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this piece, and I will be posting pictures of the exploded piece as well in my post. All right.